Hello everyone, welcome back. With the second round of the playoffs now done, I'm going to do my updated playoff preview video. We're looking at both conference finals, how they stack up, who I have winning those conference finals, and who I have going to and winning this year's Stanley Cup amongst the final four teams, which are all the updates from my previous playoff previews and my new one coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the End-to-End Hockey channel. Now before we begin this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank you for all of your support. It really does help out the channel, and we're on the road to 500 subscribers. So if you haven't already, what are you doing? Hit that like button down below, hit the subscribe button down below, and don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. So in today's video, we're doing our third out of 4 playoff preview videos. We did one just before the playoffs started. We did one after round 1 ended and just before the second round. And now we're doing one just before round 3 starts, the conference finals. So my predictions were definitely askew for this. I don't think I got one series length right. I did get a couple of teams right. So as you can remember, if you watch my second round playoff preview video, I predicted the Canes to beat the Capitals in 6 games. The Canes did beat the Capitals, but it was in 5 games, not 6. So the Canes were able to end the Capitals quicker than I anticipated. I also predicted the Florida Panthers to take down the Toronto Maple Leafs, just as they did in 2023 in 5 games, 4-1. But that was a little bit different. The Panthers did move on to the conference final. However, it was in 7 games, not 5. So it was a little bit off from the games there. Now I predicted the Vegas Golden Knights to take down the Edmonton Oilers in 6 games. I was wrong about that. It was Oilers in 5. The Knights did not have any offense. Stuart Skinner came in, did all right, and did enough to help the Edmonton Oilers get to the third round for the second straight year and the third time in 4 seasons. So I was wrong on that, both game-wise and team-wise. And I predicted the Winnipeg Jets to beat the Dallas Stars in 7 games. And I think they would have been able to had Dallas lost Game 6. But Dallas won Game 6 in a 3-2 series lead for Dallas. And that's led to Dallas Stars winning that round 2 series over the President's Trophy winning Jets in 6 games, 4-2. So I got both teams right on the Eastern side, but both teams wrong on the Western side. So we have in the Final Four a rematch of the 2023 Eastern Conference Final and 2024 Western Conference Final. These are going to be 2 really interesting series. We'll start first over with the Florida Panthers and Carolina Hurricanes. So to get here, the Carolina Hurricanes were the second team in the Metro Division, finishing just under the 100-point plateau. They got the banged up New Jersey Devils in round 1, made short work of them, beating them in 5 games. Then they got the Eastern winning Washington Capitals in round 2, and also made short work of them, beating them in 5 games. So they only played 10 games so far this year to get to the Eastern Conference Final, and made quick work of both the New Jersey Devils and the Washington Capitals. When I go over to the Florida Panthers side, they also made short work in round 1. They were the 3rd team in the Atlantic Division, also did not break the 100-point plateau. They wound up going to the Tampa Bay Lightning in round 1, and in round 1, they wound up taking down the Tampa Bay Lightning in 5 games, 4-1. So that was a very interesting series, nothing I was expecting when we started the playoffs. Then in the round 2, it was a little bit more trouble than I was expecting them to have, but they did, like I said, take down the Toronto Maple Leafs in 7 games, 4-3. So this is the 3rd consecutive Eastern Conference Final appearance for Florida. They've played 12 games up until this point. Carolina's played 10. This is the 2nd time in 3 years Carolina's making it to the Eastern Conference Final. Now the Carolina Hurricanes have had plenty of trouble in the Eastern Conference Final ever since winning this cup back in 2006. Since then, over the last almost now 20 years, they've had 3 Eastern Conference Final appearances, got swept by Pittsburgh in 09, swept by Boston in 19, and swept by Florida back in 2023. So they don't have a single Eastern Conference Final win since that 2006 Eastern Conference Final win. So they're going to be looking for their first win in the Eastern Conference Final in a long time. Well, Florida's looking to go to their 3rd consecutive Stanley Cup final after sweeping Carolina 2 years ago and beating the New York Rangers in 6 games last year. So Florida's going to be looking to replicate what Tampa did and have it be 3 straight Eastern Conference championships for the Florida Panthers. So that's going to be a very interesting series. Offensively, these 2 teams stack up pretty well against each other. I would give the slight edge offensively to the Florida Panthers due to they are a tiny bit deeper and have a tiny bit more firepower up front than the Carolina Hurricanes do, but only slightly. The Carolina Hurricanes are no slouch offensively and had a pretty good series against the Washington Capitals. I just think that the Florida Panthers are a tiny bit better offensively. Defensively, I would say that the Carolina Hurricanes all around have the better blue line. I just think the Panthers have some pretty good blue liners in Seth Jones, Aaron Ekblad, and Niko Mikkola, and a couple of other guys. But but Carolina, top to bottom, has really solid depth on that blue line. Like Gostisbehere and Walker are usually that team's third pair. Like you have a third pair of that caliber, you have a really deep defense. And they also have a couple of really good spares, so we'll give the defensive edge to Carolina. In net, these two goalies stack up pretty well against each other. Bobrovsky and Anderson have both been great in the playoffs this year. However, I will give the slight edge to Carolina, just given how well Anderson's been able to do, shutting down the Capitals and Devils offense, while Bobrovsky has had games where he hasn't looked overly great. So I will give the slight edge in net to Carolina. So I'm giving the defensive and goaltending edge to Carolina. I'm giving the forward edge to Florida. Like we said, the only time these two teams have played in the playoffs was 2023 back in the Eastern Conference Final when the Panthers swept the Hurricanes. So for my predictions this year, I'm not going to pivot too much from what happened 2 years ago. I'm going to say Panthers win in 5 games. The Carolina Hurricanes just can't seem to get it in the Eastern Conference Final for whatever reason. They've won 7 straight years where they've won round 1 of the playoffs, but they still have yet to have one Eastern Conference Final win. So because of that fact, I'm going to say that the Panthers do win in 5 games. I think these are all going to be closer series, just like we was in 2023, but I am going to be taking the Florida Panthers in 5 games. However, I do think the Carolina Hurricanes will finally get that first Eastern Conference Final win in a long time. Meanwhile, in the Western Conference, you have the Edmonton Oilers taking on the Dallas Stars. The Oilers had to go through Vegas and LA to get here. Had that 0-2 start against LA, wasn't looking overly good early on, but won 4 straight against the Kings, then won 2 straight to start and to finish against the Vegas Golden Knights to win in 5 games in that series. So at this point in time, the Oilers have played 13 playoff games, so very interesting stuff there. And like I said, after that not overly great start, since then the Oilers have been looking great, winning 4 straight against Los Angeles and then smoking Vegas. When you go over to the Dallas side, they've had to have a lot of longer series. The shutout was a 7-game series against the Avalanche, where thanks to Mikko Rantanen's heroics, they were able to take down Colorado in 7 games, and then they were able to take down Winnipeg in 6 games for 2, basically just because of the fact that the Jets could not win on the road. So all in all, the Stars were the 2nd team in the Central, beat the 3rd team in the Central and the 1st team in the Central, and once again, this is the 3rd straight season the Stars have made the conference final, and this is the 2nd straight year and 3rd year in 4 seasons that the Oilers have made the conference final. So these are 2 of the behemoths in the Western Conference. Those 2 in Vegas have been the dominant team in the Western Conference for the last 5 years. So Edmonton's going to have their work cut out for them. The Dallas Stars are going to have their work cut out for them. This is actually a rematch of last year's Western Conference final. Last year, the Edmonton Oilers, I think, went down 2-1, but won 3 straight and won that series in 6 games 4-2. The Stars have lost back-to-back Western Conference finals, so they're going to be looking to make it to the Cup final for the first time since the bubble back in 2020. So it's going to be an interesting series here. Offensively, teams stack up pretty well against each other. I will definitely be giving the top-end talent to Edmonton, the edge there, because I do think McDavid and Draisaitl, no one can really compete with that. But when it comes to depth, you can't bet against Dallas. Like Dallas, 3rd line, their 4th line, they could be 2nd or 3rd lines on most other teams. So when you look at it like that, I'll give the top-end talent advantage to the Edmonton Oilers, but the encompassing forward group advantage to the Dallas Stars just because of how good their depth is. Defensively, I will give the slight edge to Edmonton. The fact that Dallas has guys like Ceci and Lyubushkin as top 4 defensemen on that right side is a little bit concerning. They do still have some really good guys like Harley and Heiskanen, and even though they don't have Ekholm yet, I do think that Edmonton is a slight bit better on the defensive end. However, I do think once Ekholm gets back, the Edmonton Oilers will have a whole bunch better of a blue line than the Dallas Stars will, so that's interesting out there. Goaltending wise, these 2 teams have both had to do different things in net. Onger has had his moments where he hasn't looked great in the playoffs up until this point, but he showed up when he needed to in both the 1st and 2nd rounds. Whereas for Edmonton, he started with Skinner. He didn't do great in those first 2 games, so they put in Picard. He won 6 straight. They put Skinner back in because of a Picard injury. He lost the first game to Vegas, and then he's won 2 straight with back-to-back shutouts since then. So at this point in time, he's gotten a shutout streak, so it'll be interesting to see how long he can keep that shutout streak going. But it's going to be Skinner and Onger to at least start this series. Picard's going to be injured. If Skinner's playing well, I highly doubt they put Picard back in, but if Skinner starts out poorly, they maybe fall down 1 to 2 games behind, I could easily see Picard being in for game 3 or 4, so we're going to have to wait and see on that. But I would definitely give the edge right now to Dallas and net, because I do think Onger is a better goaltender than Skinner or Picard, so it's going to be an interesting battle. I would say that Dallas has the better goaltending, Edmonton has the better defense, Edmonton has the better top end talent, but Dallas has better forward group depth, so interesting note there. So in this series, I'm going to bet the exact same thing happens happens that happened last year, and that's Edmonton in 6 games. I'm just going to be picking the exact same thing that happened last year. It did well for me. Florida didn't do overly well for me with Vegas last year, so we're going to have to wait and see what happens there, but I'm going to say that Edmonton is able to replicate what they did last year, and once again, Dallas, because of those 2 long series, burns out, and they aren't able to get it done in the Western Conference Final again. So that would lead us to a Stanley Cup Final rematch of 2024 between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. So this will be a very interesting Stanley Cup Final. Panthers will be looking for back-to-back Cup Final victories. Oilers will be looking for their first win in the Stanley Cup Final since I think it was the early 1990s. And on top of that, we'll be looking to bring the Cup back to Canada for the first time since 1993. So this will be a very interesting series. Offensively, I would say that top to bottom, the Oilers probably do have a slight bit better of a forward group. Definitely have way better top-end talent, but even with the depth, I would say the Oilers are a slight bit better than the Florida Panthers are. Defensively, I would give the slight edge to Florida. I do think both teams have pretty solid defenses, but I do think Florida, top to bottom, has a slight bit better defense. And in net, I would say that Sergei Bobrovsky at this point is a way better goaltender than Stuart Skinner or Calvin Pickard, so it'll be very interesting to note there. But I do think that at this point in time, the Panthers have the better goaltending, the better defense, Oilers have the better offense. So this will be a very interesting Stanley Cup Final rematch of last year. I'm going to say it's going to go 1 game shorter than it did last year, but I'm keeping with the Panthers. I'm going to say the Panthers are your 2025 Stanley Cup champions after beating the Edmonton Oilers in 6 games. So I do think it'll be a little bit shorter. I do think this will be a really hard-fought series. Could see the Oilers bring the cup back to Canada, but with the way the Panthers are playing right now, the way the third line of Louis Doran and Lindell Marchand is playing right now, I don't know if the Oilers could be able to stop that team. And we know that last year, the Panthers were an extremely tall task for the Oilers to handle, so I'm going to say Panthers not only make it to 3 straight Cup Finals, but also win back-to-back Cup Finals, and are their own version of the Tampa Bay Lightning, who did the exact same thing 3 years to 6 years ago. So definitely, that's all I'm going to talk for today. At this point in time, I say the Oilers beat the Stars in 6 games, the Panthers beat the Canes in 5 games, then the Panthers beat the Oilers in 6 games to win their 2nd straight Cup Final. But definitely, that's my opinion on how I think the Stanley Cup Final will go as it sits right now, entering round 3. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you think that the Oilers can beat the Stars again? Do you think the Panthers can beat the Hurricanes again? And if so, do you think that we do see a Panthers-Oilers rematch? And if so, do you think the Panthers win their 2nd straight Cup Final? Definitely your thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. That's all I'm going to offer today. Remember to like this video, and for that, remember to subscribe below. Thank you for all of your support. I would never be able to without you guys. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe below. We're on the road to 500 subscribers. Don't forget to leave a comment. I also have a blog to write news, rumors, analysis, and for that, so check that out. There's a link to that down in the description below. Can't wait to see you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.